Peace. In the name of Allah, I'm Orville Muhammad. I pray that everyone is well. Peace and grace, family, believers. Hempstead, welcome to my Facebook Live. We are the lovers, respecters, protectors, and guide of the black woman. I pray that everyone is well. Such a beautiful Sunday on Long Island. Glad everybody's chiming in. Just check my audio and everything, and give a few minutes for folks to chime in. It's looking good. Let's see how this is. And just a little update from my last live. I mentioned, oh, that sounds good, okay. I mentioned the Hempstead School Board election. That is it's coming up soon. I forgot the exact date. It's the 17th. Because I'm so uninspired for it. I'm so uninspired for the Hempstead School Board election. And I have to make some corrections real fast because overall that board isn't transformative. It isn't transformative to create community value for us. It's personal achievement, just getting our children through test taking. None of our culture is in there. It's an afterthought. Let not enemies and oppressors write our curriculum and set up miseducation for us. And there's so many points I brought out in that video. But mainly the school board election. That I mentioned that some of the candidates were mentioned. Clariana Griffin was running. She is not running for this school board election. I heard that she was at the time that it was announced to me, and I mentioned her, Joylette Williams, and Lamont Johnson. I said that I put them together, that they voted against they voted for pilots and tax breaks for wealthy apartment owners that is gentrifying Hempstead. These developers and planners that are gentrifying Hempstead, they voted in every instance for these. It's the IDA pilots. They're intricate. They won't be able to do the gentrification project without these tax breaks for these wealthy developers. It's a gimmick. It's a game. They make you think the only way you get affordable housing, give the wealthy apartment owners tax breaks. They can get a loan from the bank like everybody else is supposed to. And they even get lower interest loans. It's all a game to rob you of your resources. Clariana Griffin did not vote on those pilots, I believe. My including her in that, I did also mention that she supports this project, the gentrification project. She supports it. Full steam ahead. She's behind Waylon Hobbs. Absolutely. You could question her, ask her. I don't think she'd change her opinion. She does. None of them have a voice on that board, the Hempstead Village Board. I questioned them the last village meeting about that racist mural on the backdrop of the Hempstead Village Board. It's a land swipe of a fake pastor Fordham. That Fordham University is named after a fake pastor in the early 1600s, making land. You know those trades. They broke every treaty they made. No native people, no native king, no native chief, no native ruler was permitted to give away land in the Western Hemisphere. No, it's all sacred land. It's divinely gifted to us, for us to guide. And the European came as a swindler, a colonizer, an invader, and a murderer. And to put that mural up with Fordham, going to the local chief saying it was the first real estate agreement in Long Island, giving away the town of Hempstead. I believe it was over 60,000 acres back in the 1600s. It was a land swindle and a steal. You cheat, steal, swindle, and lie. And that was the backdrop of the Hempstead Village Board. And I projected that to modern day. It is a backdrop. And Clariana Griffin, Joylette Williams were on that board, and they agreed with everything that Waylon Hobbs went forward with in gentrifying us. He agreed with devitalizing us with all them tax breaks for decades with no compensation, displacing us, and getting rid of the poor and common black person himself, especially poor, because he despises the poor. I don't know what that psychological issue he got, but I cleared that up. Thank you. And I also said that of the candidates that I didn't endorse anybody, because you call me in to balance your budget, to reallocate funds towards cultural development, towards refinement, towards nationalism, industrialism, visionary, creative stuff, creative thinking. You don't have none of that. None of you. That's why I'm disappointed in that board, okay? That's why I don't support any of them. None of them have that platform. That's a non-paying position. Why are you all vying for it? Corrupt Mayor Wayne Hall, when he was defeated by Don Ryan, he ran for that position. Why are they so interested in that position? And he got like 100 votes, I believe, because they want the land, that school land, to take the water tower. They're thieves and plunderers. That's why. And you don't protect us. You're supposed to be the gatekeepers, our representatives. That's why we vote you in the office, for you to represent the residents. You don't. You represent oligarchs and outsiders, gentrifying, displacing, taking land. You gave away and permitted a robbery and stealing of 32 acres of village land, valuable land, valued then, misassessed then for over 30 million. 32 acres of prime real estate in the hub, in the center, that they just, you should see how they presented. They misrepresented it. And I asked for that study and was told with a snobbish attitude by Waylon Hobbs, go foil it. He wasn't going to give me the information anyway. I know you. So nobody on that board filled my expectations because you're miseducated. I said education in Hempstead, the blind misleading the blind. Go look at that last live. And it represents my sentiments and my feelings. I'm more principled than that because I've witnessed private learning, advanced learning, master teaching, enslaved teaching, colonized teaching, and it's right there in Hempstead, being done right before our eyes. And all of them are so proud of that we ain't high in science. We're not high in mathematics. You're high and you've stepped up graduating misdeveloped, uncultivated students who have no community value, why Hempstead resembles a colony, because your minds is colonized. I got a free mastermind, a divine, supreme law mind. And it was Robert Harris I gave props to, a good brother. I met him in passing. He's a good brother with a consciousness, and I mistakenly did not include my good brother, Larry McLeod. He's a good brother, awesome brother. Love our people, love the students, and love the mechanism. There's no platform to deal, but I have issues that I believe in properly educating us, that none of them stood for. So you good people, I support you as good people, and you're well-intended, like Brother Larry McLeod, well-intended. Brother Robert Harris, well-intended. And the rest of the candidates are not. You have ulterior motives. You represent outside interests. Your aim is to steal, is to continually miseducate our babies while stealing more land. That's why they're running some of them candidates. We need to vet these candidates, man. You need to give these lies. I mean, you need to give these politicians and these aspiring corrupt school board members lie detector tests. You'd be shocked what you hear. I know. Why are you vying so hard for a position that doesn't pay? Because you're misguiding us. But them oligarchs came in with their representative, Shimon, Monica, and he came in with a master plan. Why? Because he was for the future residents, the gentry, that they plan on gentrifying, taking more of that land. They're thieves and plunderers by nature. All right. that cleared up what I had to say from my last live. And as you can see behind me, this is a montage of some random YouTube video of beautiful black women. And me, as you know, I represent black women being modest, and the epitome and ultimate example of womanhood is an MGT, a Muslim girl training in general civilization class. A MGT is the refinement of womanhood that would get us out of this condition immediately. So the imagery behind me is just some random black women, because you are beautiful women, because you who we going after, our sisters. We're here to protect you. We're here to guide you. We are your lovers, respecters, protectors, and guides, cultivated, refined men that are trained in the knowledge of self, militancy, self-love, and putting us on top. That's the only man that could do it. Now, dealing with womanhood, dealing with the relationship that we have, that's just at an all-time low. Black relationships in America. I'm not in, by the way, but what do they usually say that? Not default, but for clarity, what's that saying? For transparency. I'm not married, so I'm not giving marriage advice. I'm not even giving relationship advice, personal relationship advice, or any of that. I'm just speaking about us, our men, as our responsibility, our grandmothers, our aunts, our women, our daughters, our nieces. Because we have a responsibility in our manhood. And here, let me go into it. What is the root of our relationship? When you go back to Asiatic black people, the whole planet was called Asia. We are the original people of the planet. The planet was at one time all black. And it's original Asiatic man. It was called Asia. And we were on the planet for so long, living in relatively peace and harmony. Peace and harmony, relatively, not absolutely. We all have flaws, but nothing compared to the whirlwind that came out of the caves of Europe 6,000 years ago, and Apex 500 years ago in the Western Hemisphere. We were in the Indus Valley, and we were in the Nile Valley, not specifically in the Nile Valley. We as men and women practice equality, love and respect. We brought out the best in each other. That was a way of life. Go look at the Kemet Egyptian Nile Valley civilization monuments. When you see the pharaohs and queens together, and you see us standing side by side. You see us protecting each other. You don't see no dominance and I'm better than you. The woman complimented the man. It was a symbiotic relationship, complementary relationship. We were not in competition with each other. It was love and protection. Our women were highly protected and respected in the Nile Valley civilization, in pre-colonial black Africa. Those early civilizations, we weren't hypersexualized. We didn't have women weren't sexual objects. They had fine women, especially in the Nile Valley, when it later became a cosmopolitan with invading Caucasians from the Indus Valley. Caves of Europe, they came right through India. Look how they poisoned India with that caste system. What did the caste system do? It put black people at the bottom. In Egypt, in the Nile Valley, in the Indus Valley, those civilizations originally was black. And blacks were at the top. That's our people and ancestors on both sides. Don't stop. We always, and we let Caucasians put this divisiveness in us of making our people so painted into a corner, so tribalized. He promotes tribalism because it's the key to his divide and conquer. He's a master of divide and conquer. That Nile Valley civilization, you couldn't you just couldn't approach women. You couldn't corner. Women weren't accessible. You just couldn't access some woman. A woman had her neighborhood. She had her tribe. She had her extended family. Then she had her immediate family that you had to go through to get to her. And you had to bring dowry. You had to meet all of them. They all knew you. You all knew them. Most of them families had to do that. Mostly. That was the way of life. That was the accepted way of life. We respected our elders. The Caucasian don't respect, he hates his elders. That old folks home, orphanages, that come from Europe. That wasn't in Africa, because he was a nomad, always fighting, building them fortresses and around them city-states. He was a nomad. We were settled, agrarian, we were farming. We were the farmers. As a way of life. They said matter of fact, we had patriarchy and matriarchy all throughout the planet. All black people, and we never disrespected our women. Even physically. Go read a good book. Michael Bradley, yes, Iceman Heritage. In it, he mentions not only the difference between, not only do black people and white people have different natures, but white people physically have the Caucasian male and Caucasian woman have an extreme difference between them physically. The woman had wider hips. The Caucasian woman had wider hips and had more fat down there from being up in them caves in the cold. That's where the term broad comes from. She's a broad. That's where that comes from. And the man, naturally being more beast-like and savage from that cave, he was just, have you seen him 6,000 years ago? I mean, up to 4,000 years ago in them caves and hillsides of Europe? You wouldn't believe your eyes. That physical difference, and when you compare a black man with a black woman, the difference between us is not more extreme. It's a bigger difference between the Caucasian male and the Caucasian woman. It's a big difference between them. And when you compare the difference, I forgot what the science is called, diamorphity, it's like the bone and muscle mass and stuff like that, and sex, the sex organs and things like that, and stature, and the black man and black woman, our differences aren't so great. Go read that in Michael Bradley, The Iceman Heritage. Y'all need to read more books. Y'all don't read books, man. You watch YouTube videos, but we are hardly readers. Leaders are readers. And readers lead the right knowledge. We were more in harmony, even with nature. These are different. I'm painting a picture. I'm going into the root. I'm trying to show us where the source of our division is now, where the source of all this conflict between us, where the source of this competition is between us, and the root of the battle of the sexes that originates out of Europe, the caves and hillsides of Europe. It's a 4,000-year concoction. It came out of the caves and hillsides of Europe. He hated his woman. She was a burden to him because she couldn't fight. He was all fight. That's all he was. It was in his blood. Murder and bloodshed and killing for glee. She was a burden. And when he had a daughter, that was a big daughter. And some Arabs that felt like that 1,400 years ago, white Arabs, pale-faced Arabs, they were black Arabs too. The original Arabs are black. In Arabia, that whole system was connected. We were the same people. From across the Sahara, that was a flush green area. Saudi Arabia, the desert, all the way even to some of the Gobi Desert. From that whole desert chain, that was all lush at one time, 7,000 years ago. Most of it. But the people were the same. We didn't separate ourselves the way it's done with landmass today. Mainly it was language and culture. But the woman was a burden because he was nomadic. This is why he didn't have temples up in Europe. He had idols, idolatry that comes from Europe. Because he had to carry his God with him. That's why they made the little idols. They had to stuff the little idols in themselves and carry them, their gods, with them when they went off to war. The woman couldn't go off to war. So every little male was a blessing because another little warrior to fight and just fight. Steal and lie, rape and rob. That homosexuality comes up out of Europe as a way of life. Go look at our Kemet, Nile Valley, Egyptian, Metu Neter in statues, in murals, and all those stone representations, men and women. In China, Akhenaten took it to a whole different level. He made it so natural and showed the beauty of family, of the black man, the black woman, and family. And the children were free running around. It's a different representation. Up in Europe, what did we do with Greece? And the original Greeks ain't even white. That was a black man. I forgot his name. Pharaoh Sesostris. I have it. I forgot his name. Go read Martin Brunell's Black Athenia. I believe he's mentioned in there. That was an Egyptian pharaoh, a black man, that founded the city of Athens. We founded all that up, and we were the imperials, Thutmose. That was a black imperialist that colonized and expanded the Egyptian culture everywhere and spread it to the Mediterranean, up into Europe, up into Asia. We were the early conquerors. And you don't see us raping and still, we had tribute, we conquered. And if you fought and broke the treaty, and we made an agreement with you and you went against us and you attacked us, yes, we would torture you and kill you and stuff. They were cutting off hands and stuff when they went to war, and the battle you lost and you kept resisting. You weren't a POW, you didn't incorporate into the greater army. Thutmose had a multinational army. That's why he was such a great conqueror. His sister, Hatshepsut, ruled the known then world. His black women ruling the world. That's what we were doing in ancient times. Black women were ruling the world. Hatshepsut had a beef with Thutmose. He disliked her, but that was brother and sister. That was the reason. He buried her obelisks out of envy and hatred. He didn't like her. They buried her out. That's why her obelisks survived, because it was covered up. Touche for her. Good for her. This is the black woman. Mother of all people on the planet Earth. Queen of Earth. Goddess in the universe. And actually God, in essence, with us. They up in Europe, turning on each other. What will you hear? No European woman of that time. The European woman was actually a burden. And she was, who was represented in Greek sculpture? Homosexuality. Pedophilia. Go look, it's up there in stone. Excuse me. It's right there. A man having sex with a boy. That was Plato that said that. Send me old sweet Dion. Yeah, I believe that, of Syracuse. Wanted a boy. They was always asking for boys. Because they're, why? Why did that homosexuality happen to them? Why this misdevelopment in culture and family? Everything was backwards with them. Because of that hot, cold, and he even have a term for it. His philosopher even said that. I forgot which one it was. He said life is cold, harsh, and brutish. That's for caveman. That ain't original people. That ain't not teaching. Doomsday. That's for them. The end of times. We have cycles. Cycles go right into another. That doomsday, and it's the end. That's him. And he lives it. And we follow him. Our women were free. So now, don't you know that when he came into the Nile Valley, He was so wicked and anti-nature, anti-black, abnormal, and such a backwards man, raping men, women, and children. He, the Caucasian, introduced, he would rape men, women, and all type of ghoulish and ghastly things I can't even mention on here. Probably get this live shut down if I mention the inhumane, ghoulish things he did back then. Imagine what he did in America with the freedom and power, and no one could challenge him for hundreds of years. You see what he did. He made a nigga and a Negro, and he turned us inside out and used our natures against us in the worst way. We were ran out of the Nile Valley going into West Africa from the Caucasians. Cheikh Diop mentions that. He said in Senegal, the Wolof, the language, that's medieval Egyptian. Wolof. He saw the symbols in the forest. The wise men would go into the forest and train him for manhood training. The woman would get training. You don't have this training today. You get certificates on the wall. If it ain't in a certificate, it ain't valuable to you. And this is reflected in this surreality TV. You call it reality TV. I call it surreality TV. You're bickering and fighting each other and confused in your womanhood. And you're getting coached in school and beauty salons and other silly places, but it's no institution for womanhood outside of the Nation of Islam. The training of women, girls into women. We were ran out of the Nile Valley because they were wicked as hell. We went to the south and we went to the west coast of Africa, and we were ran out there, and he, like a ghoul, like a devil demon, haunted us and tracked us down and came back to the west coast of Africa. 500 years ago, thousands of years ago, we left the Nile Valley, fleeing them into Nubia and to other parts of Africa, fleeing Caucasian, invading Caucasian. We had black power revolutions in Egypt that took our land back. Those were black power nationalists retaking the lands. The 18th dynasty, 19th dynasty, that was Seti. The Hyksos was the seed-bearing people that came into Egypt in the 17th dynasty. They were nomads. They didn't have no God. They didn't have a God because of that nomadism. They went into the Egyptian pantheon and pulled out of all those gods. Guess which God they made the native Egyptian blacks worship? It was Set, the devil. They took the devil and made that their God. They didn't have a God. When an invading army come in to a territory, the first thing they do is they take your God, they make you change your God, your religion, your culture, and they affect your culture, make it servitude, and you pay tribute, and you give up your women. Everybody does that. But what did the Hyksos do? They didn't have a God, a conquering God. They went and got the devil, Set. And the prophecy was fulfilled when Seti, the founder of the 18th dynasty, I believe, and his son Kamos, he just started whipping them and he rounded them up. And they just started killing them outright, running them through the desert, exiling them. And most people would just fight them off, send them away, they tracked them down. And that was all the way up to Ramses III. Ramses III was a jet black man. He loved black people, and he hated Caucasian people with a passion. If he saw a Caucasian in his going out, he had the longest reign of any pharaoh too, Ramses II. Ramses III came over here to America, sailed hundreds of ships. Ramses killed them outright. He would look at them as a disease. So what type of sick man is this on the planet? He looked at white people so much in their their state, this wickedness, this murder, this kill, this deceit as the way they were. He would kill them to spare them. He would kill one with a spear. Give me my spear. Kill him to end his suffering as a diseased human being with that type of mind, that haunting, that ghoulishness. They came into the land. I can't even mention what they did. And finally, they were ran out. And that's why Ramses is the symbolic pharaoh in the Bible. A pharaoh was so evil. It was a different epic. The root of the Essene Jews that the monotheism was under Akhenaten, that Musa law, Moses and the law, all of that is symbolic. All of that came from Akhenaten, teaching the one God, the Aten, monotheism, that Europeans love so much. Because it's easier to have one God than the multiple gods. But we know Allah is one. And He is the essence and the creator of all. Just giving you the history of why they made Ramses, the pharaoh. But it didn't. It was one Egyptian pharaoh that drowned, that have the, and Allah says, I brought him back up. But that water-damaged corpse is later on of a Greek pharaoh. The Greek invaders, the Persian invaders. And, well, that's enough of that. Because I'm dealing with how we ran to the West Coast and how He came to get us. What is the root of the disrespect of black women and just the disrespect of family and how it was destroyed in us? We were on the West Coast of Africa. Most of us that came over here for exploited labor, that on ships, but some of us were here. There were millions of black people, original people in the Western Hemisphere, 16,000 years ago. That's the tribe of Shabazz. That's a whole different story. But in West Africa, He came and got us. We were mainly superstitious over there. Our superstition is an Achilles heel and a tragedy in relationship to Caucasian people to this day. They're not religious people. They're not divinely guided people. They don't live in righteousness. That's why they teach you a mystery God. They don't relate to nature. They destroy nature. Everything is destructive about them. This is why they rape the earth, plunder the earth, resources. They rape resources. They spoil it. They take as much as they can, keep it to themselves, keep it away from others. And if they can't, if there's any left, and it look like you're going to get it, they'll destroy it so that you won't have it. That's their nature. That's the way they've been operating, especially in America. People on the West Coast, they started, what's the first thing they destroyed? The first thing they did to us when they got over into the West Coast of Africa to capture us as slaves in America. They had to break us because we were divine people. We were connected to nature, most of us. A lot of superstition. That was our own undoing also. And He broke the family apart. They separated the men and the women and the children. That's the first thing He did. The first thing He did, killing the warriors, killed us off with disease, germ warfare. He did that here in Africa. Murders us off by the millions and claim it was accidental. Man, you kill for a thrill. You kill for fun. You giggle. Go watch some of these YouTube videos. If you know, well, don't take my word for it. Go watch YouTube videos where he's culling populations of pests, invasive species, coyotes, feral pigs, even rats on farms, even pigeons on farms, invasive iguanas in Florida, and all other these so-called pests. And go watch some Caucasian males. They just don't kill them, but you could do anyway. Pest control. You kill the vermin, you gather them up, and you discard them. What did pow? And he pops on, he giggles. He does that when he giggles and having. They all, the group of them, they have a beer, they have a ball, killing wildlife, killing nature, to the smell of gunpowder that resembles what? Sulfur. That's the hell he born in. That's sulfur. That's what exploded gun is. A bullet, exploded bullet, gunpowder. It's sulfur. Some of them spend hours in shooting ranges, just sucking it in, getting it stuck in their nostrils, because it represents the hell and the murder that he have done. This is the man that subdued us. He separated the man, woman, and child and raped all three of us, violated all three of us. I ain't got to go into the detail. And he did much worse because he What is wrong with him? And that anti-black and that anti-nature, he scars you. He wants to destroy your soul because his arms are too short to box with Allah. He can't reach him, so he gets the people of Allah. Right there in the scripture it says, I've given the time to you are spited. Forgive me for that delay. I give you a time, Satan, to work your plan. And that time is up. But 500 years ago, he took the men, women, and children and did to us outright. Go watch the movie Goodbye, Uncle Tom. Or how he put us on that slave ship after separating us, if we survived to make it on there. One of them famous slave castles, Goree Island. He would stuff our anuses with corks and feed us molasses and a slop concoction of molasses for the vitamins and sweet potatoes for the starch. And the starch was to stop, the molasses had the vitamins in it from the sugar cane, and the sweet potato had the starch to block our digestive system. And he put a cork in our anuses and our rectum so that we couldn't digest it, so that we would live off of those small rations. When you look at rations on slave ships, you see sweet potato and molasses. That was it. All the black eyed peas and all the other stuff, fruits and stuff like that, were for the crew. We made a concoction. If we didn't eat that concoction, he would take a chisel and hammer out our teeth and stick a funnel down it and force that crock of that slop down our throats to keep us alive. What was he doing? He wants our soul. This was a man that was destroying our souls. He had to break our spirit, and rape did that. And that's the way it was. That's the think over that. Oh, we taught this in school. This should be presented in school. That this is what he did. I know I'm using a little harsh annotations. It's expressing my passion for some things and my passionlessness things for some things and how I personalize it. But the concept of the history, they've hidden this from us. Because this is how they master us, lying, stealing, and how to master original man, keep us in ignorance, give us the knowledge that he wants us to know. Put a little movie out, Roots. It didn't go into it. Goodbye, Uncle Tom was banned in American theaters. And the settings were correct. Those events actually occurred. It was two Italian brothers that visited the South during antebellum slavery, chattel slavery, and witnessed this. And then once he brought us over here to the Caribbean, mainly Jamaica, if you were coming up to America, they further separated the family. They sold us off to different places. They sent us, and those of us who started the most trouble, they kept us in the Caribbean. But America, they brought the meekest ones up here. The most docile ones that of us that they broke, they brought us here. This was the breakup of the black family. This is where our family was destroyed. We couldn't protect her. Think of what's going on in our women. Black women stood out as queens, dignified women, balanced women, beautiful women. When you go to the motherland, black women would carry the loads on their head and balance because they were so balanced. Why don't you find this in Europe? You could paint a picture. She'd tumble all over the place. If you're brave enough to study the history of Caucasian people, the black woman was balanced. They took that away from her. If you notice, during slavery, you couldn't carry that load because it kept you balanced. They want us unbalanced. And our women that had this majesticness about it, this natural femininity about it. My man had failed me. I ain't got protection. She was just a free fall. Some of us fought. We had some warriors, some African kings and queens fought the colonizers and the slavers. Some of us rebelled on the ships. There were hundreds of revolts, rebellions, and countermeasures against white supremacy and enslavement and dehumanization of us, the process system at apex in America. But America got us. America got the most out of us. They burned us out for 5 years. Now our women is looking at this. She's unprotected. This is for hundreds of years. On them plantations, we were robbed of the knowledge of self. We were robbed of culture, God. We were robbed of family. Couldn't even read or write. We were illiterate and we were relying on Caucasians to provide for us. So naturally, a provider is who you look up to. And he gave us a slave form of Christianity. This Black American Christianity, up until like the 80s, have no resemblance to the teachings of Jesus or original black people. Minister Farrakhan have gone into churches in the 90s and influenced the black church. Some of y'all still got white Jesuses on the wall. Black churches in Hempstead. And unashamed about it because you're ignorant. You've been miseducated. You've been robbed of culture and family. And now the woman, she's just a free-for-all. She understands what's going on. But she's just available to anyone. She was destroyed. She had no structure. After being used and abused for hundreds of years, all of us, and even black, some of us, we would abuse each other. After they did buck breaking, they also had us bred like buck horses. What's the stud horses? This was done on plantations. They just throw you to a stud, and they would science it up, match us up. It wouldn't be qualities of relationship. It would be strength, and it keep us dumb, not any smart ones. They wouldn't mix two smart people together. This was done to us. They would mix two broad people, two strong black men and black women together, and stud produced the child. We had to sneak and have relationships, secret marriages. We had to sneak and do that. It was illegal. It was illegal to be black like it is today. And the children from that weren't nurtured properly. And the Caucasian understood the divine nurturing attribute in black women because he let them raise his brat demonic children. She breastfed white babies, master's children, and neglected her own children. The black child couldn't get that breast milk. She had to sneak and do it. On Slave Road, sneak and do anything. That's what we did. A lot of our underhanded stuff, and that's where all that snitching comes from. We snitch each other out. We're doing something, planning and scheming. Some of us favors. And that child was just thrown to the wind. That child could be sent off to another plantation, sold, or done whatever. He did whatever he pleased with that child. And most of us, as young slaves, that teenage year, if you were purchased as a slave, and that young teenage year, 18 and like 20-something, they wouldn't let you live a long life on the plantations. They would burn you out. And that in 5-6 years, they got more productivity out of us. If they said if you let us live a long life, it would be bad economics. They maximized their investment in us, of dehumanizing us, turning us into slaves, workers and laborers for nothing, and proud for the meager substance for survival of eating out of a slop drop, a pork barrel for substance. We had to sneak and get better meals. That child would go, do you know what that does to a woman? You don't know. Women know, you know. You lose a baby with miscarriage. Look at what she goes through. You don't feel nothing for our ancestors and our past and things that we have experienced because you've been robbed of your root. You don't know our glorious past. You don't know our divinity. You can't access your 7.5 ounces of spiritual atoms. That's the superior divine brain Caucasians got 6 ounces of that brain matter. And I'm not speaking about the common physical brain, that the average brain weighs 3 pounds. I'm talking about spiritual atoms. When a person dies, right before they die, you weigh them. As soon as they take that last breath, you can see it. The Caucasian and other of his followers who follow his way and got all this toxins in them, broken down pineal glands and all these other deficiencies of following the caveman, 6 ounces changed. The weight changes, but original people, God, who have activated, who don't consume fluoride, who don't consume a lot of these toxins, who fast, who purify ourselves, who eat to live under instructions of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And we got other spiritual people, a handful of Christians, but mainly that's us, the gods. When we pass and we in a purified state, it's 7.5. That's spiritual atoms we don't activate. But when you submit to Allah, that increases your dimension facilities within yourself, what we call the ancestral plane and astral projection in dimensions and seeing nature, the depths in nature. George Washington Carver did that. He could see the language of plants, like Solomon is blessed with the language of the birds and other things in nature. And the jinn had to serve him. Allah do that for his servants, his dutiful ones, those who strive to be upright in humility. The best of us have been robbed of us. And we lost a lot of that potential, mainly, we did, with superstition, putting the power of God into objects and items. And like they say, have a saying that an image is, I don't know, I have an image here. This is not an image. Suppose it was an image of a bird, of a statue of a bird. There's an image in itself if it was a bird. But if I worship it, it becomes an idol. It becomes idolatry. Drink some of my hot lemon water for my throat. But the woman who loses her child, that's undescribable pain. That's the highest intensity level of pain on earth is a woman giving birth. She's bearing a child. The second runner up, it happens in men, and that's them groin hernias. That thing feel like a strike, a bolt of lightning hit you. And the muscles down there, the groin hernia. That second, that ain't a close second, but it's second in intensity of pain. And why did Caucasian people do that as a way of life? Because he's numb to your suffering and your pain. And you accept in this man's way of life as a model, and you follow it. You follow him through his institutions because you have faith in them. This is why you love getting certified by him. You love the certificate. Give me a certificate on the wall. And you want to fulfill it. It doesn't express or manifest his lack of empathy for your pain. You do not factor this in dealing with him. And this is the man that defiled us. This had an effect on us. Go watch our sister Joy DeGuy. I didn't pronounce her last name right. Joy DeGuy. She does post-traumatic slave syndrome. How generationally that trauma affects us, man. Some of the stuff we do is right off the plantations. Some of the stuff we do. My family come right off the plantation. I don't even know if it was a plantation because the earlier members were ashamed of that past. But we just know they got the slave name. They were in slavery. And we don't document that. I think Alex Haley went into a little detail. He wanted to know. Interest. You got to be interested to know your past black people. Because there's so much shame, rape. Who wants to remember that? Being robbed of everything. Working a farm during sharecropping. That's after slavery. Being told you owe this man. He's a Satan, man. But we trust his system because we're hopeless. We don't have anything else. Now a woman child taken from her as a way of life. You can't factor that. And now, imagine that. Now, we leave that, emancipation. We were emancipated. Emancipation don't mean freedom. Freedom is you take your freedom. Freedom, had we rose up in arms and we killed off Caucasian people, killed our slave masters, killed all these Caucasians in America, took the land, took over the government, made it for ourselves. That's liberation and freedom. We were emancipated when he just loosened his hand. He loosened the bounds, but he kept us within hand's distance. That's emancipation. That's another man doing that to you. We built the all-black towns. We had some semblance of family. And after emancipation, those New England's church schools came down to the South and were teaching us some of their more Caucasian values. It never touched our natures. It didn't go into extended family. It went into European culture as supreme, as superior, as a way of life. They were helping us being a black caveman in America. To be an American is to be a caveman. And they taught us that. Now, we had some family in them all-black towns. I love the movie The Harder They Fall, I think. What was that? With our sister, Regina Bell, Idris, a whole bunch of good actors in there. I can't remember all the names. It just came out. It was about the all-black town, and they were taking it over, and they were fighting them. It was all the black gunslingers. I think it's The Harder They Fall, something like that. It'll come to me. We had all-black towns themed like that. Well, that were looking nice. We didn't have shabby places. Them all-black towns was nice, so much that Caucasians envied them. Well, in those all-black towns, they didn't represent our culture that reflected our nature. They represented how we were taught and learned by them New England church people that came down, who were somewhat well-intended. But if you well-intended, you teach our nature, which they didn't know and respect anyway. But at least it structured us, the family, and it was the black church and stuff, slave church, T-Town, Oklahoma, Black Wall Street, Rosewood. We went in them towns, we had families. And we had self-respect. We had guns and arms and weapons. And we didn't have black-on-black crime murdering each other because we looked out for each other. We got back to, our natures told us to do this, to get back to extended family. We had extended family. This is key. I want you to remember this. Extended family. This is the key. This is what's been destroyed. This was our power. This is what got us through. This was our safety net. This was the institution, extended family, that is the success of families. So them all-black towns, we had a little family structure there, and it was good. We had some of our vices there that were bad. But for the most part, we got away from wicked white folks. We knew good and well we couldn't live near them. Why? Because they haunt us. They're not satisfied until they see us destroyed in a permanent underclass at the bottom. They raised all them black towns. 60 were major. Them all black towns, they were hundreds. Like 200, very small. All of them ran us back to what? Sharecropping. We couldn't go to school. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said he couldn't go to school. He never went to school because he was so busy working at the farm. He said by the time I got to the school door, it was closing. He's working the farm. All the children were working the farm. My family had all them big families. I think 12 children from my great-great-granddad. My great-granddad had 13 children. My granddad had 7. And the number started dwindling because we left sharecropping. We had all them big families and stuff. That was our protection. And when you go to a man's daughter, you just couldn't come to her. You had to deal with the father, the uncle, and the cousins. So now, back in sharecropping, we came to the cities. Again, our nature told us to form extended family. My mother came up here in 61. She was down in North Carolina, didn't like that meager lifestyle and that backwards lifestyle. It was racist as hell, and our own people took out black men who were abused, sharecropping, or abused in the mills, and abused at any labor we did with Caucasians, and humiliated. And if we weren't militant, and this is law of nature, it says when a man do this, when you're not militant against an oppressor, and you go back to your home, you're going to take it out on your family and your women, your frustration. You take it out on them. That's where all these excessive beatings coming from, which came from slavery anyway. This was trauma that's in us. Them beatings were excessive. And you know, actually, the standard whipping of a black person was a belt, a black leather belt. That represents a whip. You were lucky to get a switch. And we all had them switches, but that belt, the crackling of that belt against us. And they not just beat us, you could hear the pain. You know, a murder happens. If it's a murder scene, you go to the murder scene, and the person is stabbed, and the possessions are gone, they say, oh, it was a robbery. It stabbed him. Oh, my God. They robbed the person, stabbed him, and took his stuff. But if they come to a murder scene, and it's like 40 stab wounds, and all the jewelry and money still there, and a cell phone, they say it's a crime of passion. Because that person not just stabbed them, they went into the whole cadence. You no good sucker, and then they describe what they did to him. You'll never do it to another person. This happens when people do crimes of passion. You hear them stabbing with that extra in them. So them whippings with the belt were excessive. And I remember that came all the way up to me. I remember them excessive whippings. They weren't structured. They didn't have, when you had lack of extended family, single mother families and small families, rowdy children, got them serious whippings, that came from that. So now we up here, what are our relationships now? We had strong families in the 60s. Black people in the 60s and the 70s, we had families. We had a lot. The black church was protected. The black church was awesome during that time. They were fighting for what they thought was right. They were deceived in the fighting for integration. But the other black churches that would support groups and stuff like that were the backbone of us coming into the cities and stuff. And they got us through a lot of things. But look at the black church today. They are the essence of sellout. Most of them in Hempstead. All that clergy right now are supporting the gentrification of black Hempstead. One of the most destructive things for us to keep us nomadic. It breaks us by families, break up our home, no homes, no small businesses, no generational wealth. That's the backbone of you building a family. Black churches. The mayor is a pastor. All of them are sellouts now, especially in Hempstead. They love pastors being involved with politics. Bush put that proclamation, what was that, I forgot, where he black with churches, he gave them funding if they wouldn't be political. So why are all these politicians in politics now? And they don't speak about things that affect us generationally. They deal with hot points, hot topics, pain points, and they sell us out. So now, what is our relationship now? In the 70s, we were, I'm speaking of Hempstead, my experience with black people in Hempstead. We loved ourselves, man. In the 70s, black people, black power, that black power movement, that was a one-man job, mainly. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad taught you to be black and proud. And that spread to us. That's why you call yourself black to this day. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad, who is alive. He taught us to be black and proud. And it affected everybody else. Martin Luther King Jr., you hear him saying be black and proud. James Brown, that famous song. Even Jesse was a part of that sellout class of politicians and reverends. Fighting for friends, favors for friends, while using hot flashes and rallies and marches and stuff. Same thing with these settlement lawyers. Black man shot, here comes a settlement lawyer. They never punish the police. They get a settlement for the family. And the police go unpunished. That's why they continue all these killings, because we don't have protection. Wasn't part of the certificate. In the ballroom they invited you to for the ceremony, where you just love it. All the bells and whistles, all the glitter, and it's fake gold. Now our women in the 80s, now we started doing them for self. Now this individualism, this is what killed us. We got poisoned by white feminists telling us, black women, you don't need a man, do it yourself. They started purposely giving her more jobs amongst him, and started giving incentives. We will give you incentive and subsidy if you don't have a man in the house. This was institutional. Black women to this day can get subsidies if they have a child and the man abuses them, neglects them, and leave them, and they're in conflict, get an order, protection, whatever, subsidy. They give incentive for keeping our families busted apart. This is what's happening today. We have a lack, we are participating in the Caucasian battle of the sexes in competition. We are in competition with each other. It's sad. It's killing us. That is the essence. They've raised the cost of living. We're paying a black tax. We pay more. The interest loans to us are higher. Our quality of life goes down in black neighborhoods. Look at Hempstead, he's gentrifying Hempstead. They have devitalized it for decades by us paying other people taxes. It's a black tax. They overassessed our homes. We're losing our homes. That's the essence of family. You can't have a big family in apartments, all that burden, but with a home, you got the freedom. That's incentive to get a bigger family, higher income. It's all fixed, and it's getting worse for us. We don't have the institution to cultivate family. We must do it. In Hempstead, we got to do a restoration resource center that focuses on cultivating us. They tell your sister, go on out, do for yourself, don't worry about no man. I got you. You're miserable. And I said, you got to psych yourself. I don't need no man. I got my... This has been going on for decades. It's killing us. We need each other. We need to cultivate each other. And black men, we are the source of this. It is us. We permit it. We are not the lovers, respecters, protectors, and guides of the black woman. We have let the institutions of white supremacy provide for her, jobs for her. She don't respect you. Well, she earn more money to you. When you give money value, instead of your unity, your interaction with each other, developing a positive relationship in the community to build and protect the community value. When she's given her own and more women loans, they've done everything for women, but we have never been repaired. We have never been restored. They've shattered us. Every time we recover, they come back and they destroy us. And we can't see them doing it because they're clever enough, they're brilliant enough to hide it. Except for today. Some devil went up, a white terrorist went up to a supermarket in Buffalo and murdered, executed 10 of our people. And we have to execute him. We have to do it. They don't. There's no justice for black people in America. This is why we have to form our own militia to cover down for us in the communities, and our own courts to try people like that. We would execute somebody like that. We got to stop letting them do it. We got to. We have to form an institution that gives us incentive to build family, to develop relationship, to hold us accountable. What is that? Extended family. You got to increase the family. But the family got to have a foundation. You got to have institutions to support it. We got to break out of this economy. This economy is designed for us to be at the bottom. That's what gentrification is. Bringing in the gentry, throwing out lower income people who are not united, who don't protect their community. Hempstead resembles a colony. The oligarchs, and plutocrats, and the corporatists, and the bankers that run this country, they're taking all their resources and they're concentrating them further into their hands, and they're creating a greater pool of poor people. A greater pool of poor people, and the middle class is shrinking. This is why Wall Street is buying up homes. They don't want you owning homes. They want you renting. And they're building all these luxury apartments right here in Hempstead. They're planning like 40 luxury apartments. They're starting with 16. And all the, they want 16. But they're applying for 35 pilots for those other structures, which they're going to expand. All that they're building a small city for wealthy outsiders to come in as the new gentry, and you out, and we're all watching this while we go misdevelop, while we go begging for a job, striving harder to get more certificates into more student loan debt. Without the purpose of family. Extended family is the key to protecting. When you have, a man shouldn't just have access to you. You just everywhere. $100. You go into the stripper club. They throwing dollar bills at you. That's your value. Some women that's doing stripping, speaking of strippers, OnlyFans. You've become, you have a price to be humiliated and for your soul to be bought. You put a price on it, and it's very cheap. And it's going to get worse. And when that bigger poor class expands, women, right now you need to take some self-defense. Whatever you need to do to defend yourself and your home, because you're the one that's going to be targeted the most. When that poor class grow, what do? Young brothers, they team up together. I used to do that in the 80s. We team up together. We got with each other out there hanging out in the street and stuff, smoking and drinking and stuff. Our protection was our unity, our little small crew, because we looked out for each other. It was corrupt. It was misguided. But we had more goddamn sense than y'all. This individualism, this competition with each other, them so-called gangs. That's what attracts them. Say, I'm going to look out for you, son. Here's a gun. Go look out for you. Get you paid. Most of the jail bids to this day start with, yo, let's go get paid. Let me show you how to get paid. And when the young brothers gather together as a means of protection and survival, who do they prey on? That's more home invasions. That's more carjackings. And that's more robberies. And that's more rape. And most of that is going to be you. I want you to know, by nature, when you're cornered in a small space, you shrink down. Woman, all women of the earth. When a predator traps you in a small enclosure and he surprises you as a predator that's going to attack you, you don't naturally block, strike, and do that. You shrink and scream, and you freeze right there. And that's how they grab you and put their hand over your mouth and violate you. And if that savage takes you to another location, he more than likely is going to kill you. And this has gotten so bad, it's women doing this today. Women with masculine figures. Black girls can't survive today. You're lucky to make it a whole woman through here. You're lucky. It's like going through a minefield to reach black womanhood today. Good God. It's almost a damn rite of passage that you're raping black girls in our homes. It's almost a damn rite of passage. Man, even some fathers rape their daughters. Uncles, it's an uncle, It's an uncle, it's a cousin, it's some family friend that molest and rape little girls right in the homes. In your home, the babysitter. This is happening at an ever-increasing rate. And now it's women doing it. Masculine women. Women acting like men. Ask yourself in the hood, why don't these women emulate higher class men? Women who act like men in the black hoods, lower income neighborhoods. Women who practice lesbianism and act like a man, who are males, act like males. What males do they emulate? Wife beater shirt on, pants sagging, bopping hard. Women hard as hell. When you tamper with her and you violate a woman, you harden her. And I said hard as hell. They're more harder than LL rocking the bells. In the language, I can't even say it here. Women are doing some of this molestation and rape because it's a cycle. This is it's 100th century cycle. And it weaned down, then, well, the more extended family, the less it is. But when you're all individualistic and you're by yourself, you're in a daycare, because extended family, they used to kill. Maya Angelou said that. So it was her uncle that raped her, and somebody found out, a relative, and killed the man that raped her. And she said she wouldn't say anything for a long time. Maya Angelou. No, yes, Maya Angelou, she said that. She said because she wouldn't speak because her words got a man killed. And that man killed him because when you rape a woman, you kill her. You kill her spirit. You harden her up. She becomes disgruntled. Because she lacks faith in us, hope in us. She loses that protection. Little girls, they look up to us. Daddy's little girl. What does she do? She's looking up to us. Men, strength. Soldiers, warriors for the community. Our people. Killers for our people. Liberators. Strength. That's what they look up to. Imagine looking up to something and that thing violates you in this strange, bizarre way. You're being violated. They scar on your soul. This savage that has been sexually abused himself. Most rapists and predators have been sexually abused themselves. They go down, they want to scar your womb. Some of them have womb envy. Some women have penis envy. These are complexes in people. This needs to be worked out. This is a Restoration Resource Center where this can be confronted and recounseled. None of us addressing this. This needs to be institutionally addressed. It needs to be up on the blackboard. Fuck your certificate. Put the teachings on the blackboard. Show some value in yourself and our people and Allah that He'll do for us. You're so reliant on a broken system that thrives off of our humiliation. Do something for yourself and value what Allah did for us. All we going through, and you continue the same cycle. This is why women don't have trust in us. We got to get training. We got to train the men to be men. They want to be a family man. They're like dogs. Most of these abortions, a good percentage of them are black women, 40%, because they're targeting us. Like 20 million black babies been aborted since that decision in the 70s, Roe versus Wade. I believe that number is somewhere near that. If I'm wrong, please correct me, put that down in the notes. A man, we want to get a woman pregnant. That's our aim. We use the bait and the trick of a long-term relationship. I love you. I want to be what you want to be here, man. With that smooth silky talk with the aim of having sex with you. And a woman who admires a man, the jock, or she gets excited around her friends. See, we shouldn't have access to each other like this. That's how this game persists. We should be separated from each other in school till you're 16. And developing our natures, then we bring it together institutionally with extended family, with structure and support and accountability. The woman uses sex as bait for a man that she's admired, that a man that she admires, she would love to call her own, and she gets with him, she's so proud. She go bragging about him. And she uses sex as a bait, flirting around with the aim of having a long-term relationship with him. Both of these backfire. And out of our smooth, silky talk, we corner her in the hallway and dominate her and get her all heated up, get her laughing and laughing till all her clothes off. Now she's pregnant. And then she's so excited, bragging to her girlfriends, those salty girlfriends in the beauty salon. Can't keep a man for who knows. Because you're in this trap. You don't have the cultivation. You don't have the training. There's no institutions for us to get out of this. These are your coaches. Man, you should never, men, we should never go with a woman who's being coached by other broken women. That's the essence of your conflict. Them other broken women ain't minding their business. Relationships are private. Relationships are private. Relationships are private. Stop telling people your relationship business. I ain't even in a relationship and I know that. And now she comes to you out at the park, her little girlfriends, and the other little girlfriends with her may even know that he's messing with some other little sweeter eye candy. How you doing, Darren? Yeah, I'm all right. Stepping off with his new little sugar eye candy. Now here you are, frustrated, stuck with his baby. He about to get her pregnant. The sweet eye candy. And that's some abortions. Some other ones are rape. Some just the relationship breakup. It ain't exactly like that, but some, I guarantee you. I've seen it with my own eyes, I know it. You can't hide from yourself. Abortion should be rare. But we don't have the system. It should be rare. Because when you have extended family, you have a structure. You have planned marriages. All of this, we need a plan. They have Planned Parenthood. Taking your baby, killing you. That's Planned Parenthood. That's their Planned Parenthood for you. Kill your baby. Don't have a father. They give you subsidy in your little apartment and some food stamps. As long as there ain't no man in there. He'll hide during inspection day. Damn, where you at in the closet, homie, under the bed? Our women have to be protected. And through the institution, which we do as men, we have to participate and be held accountable for that. Because this abuse cannot go long. There is no, these rapists, and if they do go to jail, some of the brothers sexually abuse them in jail. They find out that some man raped a woman or a child, pedophile. That ain't even justice. Men raping men in jail ain't even sexual. Did you know that? That's, it's power. I was watching the Clive Owen movies. Is that his name? Clive Owen, the great assassin. He played in Snatch, I believe. He was a killer, hitman. He plays a hitman in a lot of his movies, Clive Owens. He played in Inside Job, Spike Lee with Denzel Washington. He was in a movie where his young brother was this was in Europe, in England. So flashy, hip, young man out in the clubs partying, selling a little drugs on the side in the clubs. He's the center of attention in the spotlight. He was jamming, getting his little money, got the little cute girls, and he leaving the club drunk, walking alone in the streets of London late at night. Nobody's out there. And these two men, white men in tuxedos, were waiting for him at the corner. And they snatched him up, put him in a car, and a Range Rover, Land Rover, took him to this location, turned him around, and held him, bent over. A man came behind him, another white man, car salesman, came up, pulled down his pants, and violated him, raped him. Raped him. And the young man, after that, he was in the bathtub, and he was confused, and you see him, and he cut himself, he committed suicide. He killed himself. So Clive Owens went to go get revenge. Who killed my brother like this? So he was speaking to the doctor, in the hospital, who was caring for his brother who was violated like that. And he said, why? Why would some man rape my younger brother? And he said, rape isn't sexual. He said, it's power. He said, a man rapes another man, it says to dominate him, to show his dominance and humiliate him. And then Clive Owens cornered the guy. He went and got his old hitman car, threw on his old hitman suit, got his old gun, his pistol with the silencer on it, and he cornered him. First he killed his Doberman Pinscher, and he came back looking at the Doberman Pinscher. He said, why did you do it? He's ready to blow his head off. He said, why did you rape my brother? And that man turned around. I forgot his name, the actor. I've seen him in other films. He turned around up from that dead Doberman Pinscher. He said, because your brother was a show-off. He was out there hanging out, doing this thing, all the girls with the drugs, and I showed him. And after Clive Owens heard that, he didn't kill him. He walked away, and then he changed his mind, came back, and killed him for doing it. But that description of dominance, we are playing games with each other in that competition, male-female competition, and it's killing us. The battle of the sexes. We're losers in it. It's a game of death. And we're losing it. It's fixed for us to lose. Got to get institutions. That's the essence of what I had to say today. Let me look for any questions here. Okay. What's up with any questions? Remember the story of Lot? Oh yeah, Lot, where the angels went after Abraham. No, Abraham went with some angels into Sodom and Gomorrah, and they thought, oh, he coming for our daughters. They said, no, we want your men. Yeah, just America is the epitome. Yeah, thank for that comment, brother Stefano Pruitt. Lot, that's in Sodom and Gomorrah. And America is Sodom and Gomorrah. And all the wicked nations and scriptures in history boil up into one. They did all things unimaginable to us, because they did it in secret. They wasn't broadcasting to the world what they were doing to us. A traveler will come over here and see it. As Robert Scott, so true, my brother, right on. Peace to the family. My sister, Faith Avra Austin, yes sir, and yes ma'am. Walaikum assalam. Peace unto you. We are the lovers, respecters, protectors, and guide of the black woman. We got to do it, brothers. Something's got to give. And sisters, how I'm stating that how this nation is going, get some self-defense training. I mean, until we get the restoration, until we get ourselves together, it's going to get worse, and you're going to be targeted. You think you're successful, you're all out alone, you better get you some self-defense. Start teaming up and get away from bitter women and even bitter men. Us men, we got to get away from bitter men. Look at our brother Kevin Samuels, a beautiful brother. I love him, but he, like I say, he spoke from the trash can of American relationships. What are these relationships? The caveman relationships. Ain't no justice in it. We don't have our own economy. We ain't the power. We ain't men printing our own money, providing jobs for our women, and then our extended family structure deciding these relationships. It's a go for all. It's go get yours. If you got the money, you can do it. That's an opportunist. It's opportunist relationships. And he did go in a lot of stuff. He made a lot of points. He expanded upon Shahrazad Ali relationship platform. A lot of people used to condemn her. She wrote The Black Man's Guide to Understanding the Black Woman. She also wrote the Black Woman's Guide to Understanding the Black Man. But we're in American caveman relationships. That's just a failure. That's why the divorce rates are so high. People don't even want relationships no more. They're going to have if you keep going down this path, you're going to have relationships with robots and AI. We got to get out of this family. Restoration Resource Center. And only we can do it. Now I'm about to close this live. It was a little late today. It is Sunday. It was so beautiful out today. And I think I covered everything. The school board election, what's coming up to Hempstead. Join the Committee of Concerned Citizens of Hempstead, a unity coalition, and we preserving our suburban structure of Hempstead. And that's losing our family, extended family. We had beautiful black families here from the South in the 60s and 70s. Now, most of us are gone. We've been priced out, taxed out, because we got to sell our board. We don't have people protecting our interests. How you going to build an institution? How you going to get this in the school if you keep relying on your enemy and oppressor to plan for you? We have to plan for ourselves to counter their plans. We can do it. All right, family, that's it. And these Facebook Lives will be on YouTube Live very soon. I gotta get the YouTube Lives up, and I'll port them into Facebook. That's simple. But go subscribe to my channel, Riosphere. You see it on my Facebook page. The videos that I upload these two, I'll be doing them live too, and then uploading them and sharing them on Facebook. But go to I would rather do them on YouTube to change the format and algorithms that's going on. And other than that, family, I wish you well. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for the comments. And I hope that I spark some light in us for good ideas. This needs to be discussed. Let's do more of this discussion of how to positively build strong family structures, getting back to extended family that reflected our nature. There's no escaping it. That was our success. That was our success. We need to look at how to fail us and how to succeed. And we can do it. All right, family, I leave you as I greeted you. Ancient Arabic words of peace. Assalamu alaikum. Peace unto you.